Y'all, I am going through my old journals right now, and I am just seeing all the things that God has done in my life over the past literally year and a half. And I just know that this is going to be encouragement to someone who has been praying and seeking God and asking Him, what is my purpose, God? What is my calling? And you've been praying and you've been seeking. You might have even been fasting and you haven't heard from God. I want to read you something that I wrote in my journal almost a year ago of when God first called me into ministry and when He first started speaking to me about what my purpose and calling was. So when I first got saved, I was deep into New Age. I was in the wrong environment. I was in the wrong job industry. I was working in nightlife. I was like a model influencer. I was wearing skimpy clothes and just showing my entire body all over social media. I was around the wrong people. I was partying, I was drinking, I was doing all these things. And as soon as I got saved, the first thing that God told me, besides quitting caffeine at that time, I still drink coffee now, but I was addicted to caffeine then. But that was the first thing that God told me. The second thing that God told me was to quit my job. The third thing that God told me was to get rid of certain friends, to take myself out of certain environments. And that had to do with people that I hung around And so after I got rid of all those things and I was doing them without even a hesitant thought. I was just doing them. And God will give you, if God is telling you to do something, He will give you the confidence to do that. He will build you up and give you the courage to do those things, because I never used to let go of things. In my past, when I knew that something wasn't for me, I would cling to those things even more because I had a fear of abandonment and a fear of rejection and just a fear of being alone. So I would cling to the wrong people until they finally left me. And that was just a work in God in itself, because He started removing the people from my life that I couldn't remove myself. And so anyways, the point of this video is that if you have been seeking God for your purpose, for your calling, He might be waiting for you to do those things first. He might be waiting for you to remove the toxicity in your life, because if He were to tell you your purpose and your calling with the wrong people in your life, He knows that those people will contaminate the very same thing that He wants to use in you. If He is calling you into ministry, He's not going to tell you that your calling is ministry when you still have people that would contaminate that or discourage you from that purpose or from that call He has placed on your life. Because I literally wrote right here. So I wrote this in March of last year. God called me into ministry in February last year. So I've been in ministry for exactly almost a year now. And when I was seeking God for months and months and months, like I was seeking Him for like 3 to 4 months. I was fasting and praying every single week. And I was like, God, what is my purpose? I was like, you told me to quit my job, but what is the call that you have for me? I started applying to all these different jobs. And every single time I applied to a job, I didn't get the job. I would go on these interviews. I didn't get the job. And I have never applied to a job that I did not get. I had a bachelor's degree in psychology and communications, and I had a good resume, and I was not getting the jobs. And these were the jobs that I was applying to wasn't even like anything of like high like status or anything. It was like just like basic jobs, like assistant jobs, or just like jobs that like journalists and things like that, like jobs that I definitely had the resume for, and I was not getting them. And I'm like, what is going on? And it's because God was telling me to not get a job, that He was calling me into ministry. And so God will test you sometimes before He even gives you your purpose and your calling, because He wants to test your obedience, because He's not going to give you your calling and your purpose if He can't even trust you yet with what He's already told you to do. So if there is something or someone in your life, or He has told you to quit something, whether it's your job, whether it's this relationship, if you have not done those things, then He's not going to reveal to you. And I'm not saying always, but I'm saying what happened in my life, God did not reveal to me my purpose and my calling, even when I was seeking Him for 3 to 4 months every single day in prayer and fasting. And as soon as I quit all the things that He told me to stop doing, when I got rid of those people, when I got rid of that job, when I got rid of that relationship, then God revealed to me my purpose, and it happened quickly. He was just revealing all of these things to me because He realized that He could trust me. And something that I wrote in my journal that I wanted to share with you, and I said, God just gave me a download. He had to remove everyone from my life because He was purifying me, because He didn't want anyone discouraging me from my purpose or calling. If I had all of these friends still, they wouldn't understand my purpose if I told them. So God had to remove those people first. That's why he didn't tell me my true purpose until he got rid of everyone who could drown it. Wow. I wrote that a year ago, and I just know that this is going to encourage someone or give someone courage to do those things to get rid of, that God is already telling you to get rid of. Because I know that one of the main questions I get from people is, how did you know God was calling you into ministry? How did you know that that was the call that God placed on your life? How did you know? Well, first I had to listen to what God was already telling me to do, what he was telling me to do, because I had this strong feeling that I was supposed to do something big with my life. I had this strong feeling that I had a purpose on my life, and God will put those desires in your heart to pray for those things. When God is sending you in a certain direction, he will literally put those desires on your hearts for you to pray about when you are in prayer. I started praying for things that I would have never prayed for, but God put those thoughts into my head because he will do that when he is trying to guide you or direct you somewhere where he wants you to go. So I don't know who this is going to encourage today, but if you have been seeking God on your purpose and you're like, God, what is the call that you have on my life? Maybe he's told you to quit your job and you're stuck in this transition period and you don't know what's next. You haven't heard from God yet. You haven't heard from him of what to do, and you're like waiting. Start doing the things that he has already asked you to do. Has he asked you to do something that you haven't done yet? Because he might be testing you. He might be testing your obedience. And also he wants to make sure that he purifies the things in your life that will contaminate those things. Because I can only imagine if I was still around those same people that I was friends with at the time that God put that call and purpose on my life, if I would have told them that, and they probably would have been like, LOL, Alicia, like, how are you going to pay your bills? Like, how are you going to do ministry if you don't get paid and all these things? Like, and I would have listened to them because I like take people's advice. I care so much what people think, especially at that time in my life when I didn't have any boundaries and I relied on everyone else's opinions and advice. And God knows who you are. God knows the characteristics of you and how you act and how people around you have influence on you. And so if God knows that there's people around you that have influence on you, that might have a say about what the purpose or the call God placed on your life, if he knows that those people have influence on you that could contaminate it or could discourage you from stepping into the purpose or the call that God has for you, he's not going to reveal to you what your purpose is yet. He's not going to reveal it to you. He has to remove those people first out of your life. So that way, when he does tell you what your purpose is, that you will be able to walk into it boldly and confidently, and that no one will be able to drown out what God had told you to do. Anyways, that is all I have for you guys today, but let this encourage you. Do what God has already asked you to do and watch him reveal to you what your purpose is.